and let us all do we can to build a better future.
Tucker Carlson versus Fox News. Now, there's a lot to this story because also Tucker Carlson is really speaking out his mind and really calling out the establishment for what it is. Now, he was also on Tulsi Gabbard's show as well, especially where, he calls out the intelligence community as well as the fact that Trump was, kind of a nutcase. So yeah, it's kind of interesting seeing Tucker Carlson speak out. Now, let's talk about why he's squaring off against Fox News, because it seems to me that Fox News is doing everything they can to keep him quiet. They're not happy with him, even though he was one of the main draws to the network. And plus, again, the viewership, similar to Anheuser-Busch, their business at Fox News is going down, down, down. So this is an article from RT. Yes, just to trigger the vote blue no matter who, people. So the conservatives' host patience regarding his contract with the network is said to be dwindling quickly. So conservative commentator Tucker Carlson is ready to go on the attack against Rupert Murdoch's Fox News if the network does not release him from his contract. What they're trying to do is keep him quiet so he doesn't talk about the election. Axios reported on Sunday, citing sources close to the pundit, Fox fired its number one host last month, just hours before he was scheduled to go on air, but has not released Carlson from his $20 million per year, which forbids him to work elsewhere in the industry until January of 2025. So while Carlson has made no public statement on his departure or his future plans, aside from a 2-minute Twitter video promising his viewers that he would see them soon, he has retained entertainment lawyer Brian Freeman to negotiate an exit to the contract. Sources claiming to be close to the newsman say he is losing his patience with the network. So his team is preparing for war. He wants his freedom, a close Carlson friend told Axios, knowing that Carlson had previously said he wanted to get this done quiet and clean, but his team was now going from peacetime to DEFCON 1. So the conservative icon knows where a lot of bodies are buried and is ready to start drawing a map, another insider source agreed. So again, the two videos that I will be playing was Tucker Carlson when he went on Tulsi Gabbard's show some time ago. So again, this isn't recent, but I just want to play those two videos because there's a reason why. There's a reason why Fox News wants to silence somebody like Tucker Carlson, because on his show, he was able to bring on a lot of progressive and independent commentators who went against the norm of the establishment narrative. And unlike other Fox News hosts, and again, look, Tucker Carlson, he's going to be fine. He's going to land on his feet. But what I find interesting about how Tucker Carlson did his show, and I mentioned this on a few other programs as well, he would let his guests speak. Normally, let's say if this was another Fox News show, especially Fox News in the early 2000s, they would shut anyone up. They would somehow, their mics would be turned off, and that's it. Tucker Carlson never did that. He let his guests speak, which is interesting. It was interesting, and plus his audience was exposed to people with different perspectives and points of views. So Carlson allies in the media are supposedly prepared to go on the offensive against Fox, and outlets including video platform Rumble and cable Newsmax have reportedly offered to pay him even more than his previous employer. So say he's going to be fine. Even billionaire Twitter CEO Elon Musk is reportedly interested, though the two have not discussed the details of any arrangement. So going on, the idea that anyone is going to silence Tucker and prevent him from speaking to his audience is beyond preposterous, Friedman told Axios. The network lost almost half of its audience in Carlson's 8 p.m. time spot in the week following his firing, and ratings for the network's other shows have also declined purposely. So there you go, especially in the 24 to 54 age demographic desirable to advertisers. So Carlson's show drew over 3 million viewers per night, far more than the next popular show. The exact reason for Carlson's ouster has not been made public. Media critics, including the New York Times, pointed to leaked text messages from the anchor, specifically one in which Carlson admitted enjoying watching footage of an Antifa protester being beaten by a group, despite this not being how white men fight, then acknowledged the protesters' humanity. Others leaked texts revealed Carlson did not believe the claim that Dominion voting system was flipping votes for Democrat Joe Biden Fox settled Dominion's defamation lawsuit for $787 million just days before firing the anchor. So it's, again, like, I do find this interesting, especially with Dominion voting systems, because let's face it, folks, the United States has a long, sad history of, well, lacking election integrity. So I want to pull up these two videos here. These two videos. Now, this is when he was on Tulsi the Average Show some time ago. And I just found this interesting because when you look at somebody talking about the intelligence community, usually you see people praising it. I want to pull this video up here. So check it out.
He's taking these shots, this antagonism, this taunting to the intelligence community.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday of getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
How could he say something like that? I mean, how could you, as the head Democrat in the Senate, accept a system where the people are not in charge? It is not a democracy. Unelected spy agencies are controlling the outcome of domestic politics? Like, you're okay with that?
Now, normally you don't hear people talking like that. I mean, back in the day, that was always dismissed. Hell, I remember as a kid when people would say, no, the intelligence community is running everything. There's always some sort of nefarious plan happening. Our elections are decided behind closed doors. And it was all true. It is all true. Look, if you think you have a democracy, you don't. You're not being represented. I mean, let's face it, our politicians are being bought. We have people who are in positions of power who are not elected, but control key institutions and agencies in which they dictate how things are going to be run here in America. The Senate doesn't run the show. The House of Representatives does not run the show. And yes, even the president doesn't run the show. It's all one big, sick, twisted game that is ruled over by narcissists, sociopaths, and all the worst kind of villainy you can ever imagine. George Carlin was right. It's one big club. You know something? Anyone with a human soul doesn't want to be part of it.
Right. That's a dictatorship, asshole. Like, what do you think that is? I mean, I just think, and I couldn't have less regard for Chuck Schumer, but I know him, and he's not stupid. He's not stupid at all. No. He's quite smart. So he
come on, Tucker. Don't be calling Chucky Boy Schumer smart. Okay, come on.
He's never thought this through. He has thought it through. He accepts it as okay. And, you know, we should never accept something like that, ever.
No. And the fact that there was no response like yours to his statement on whatever show he was on when he made that statement says it all, and how pervasive this is. It's not only with those who are in Congress and some of the most powerful offices in the country, but how it also plays out with people in the media who just accept that power position.
And then they lecture us about democracy. Democracy's at stake. Really? What is this democracy you speak of?
And I want to pause here. What is a democracy? Do we have one? Do we have free and fair elections in this country? Do we have real representation in this country? Does the Senate speak for you? Now, again, we're facing an economic crisis. Inflation's on the rise. Americans are struggling day in, day out just to make ends meet. We're seeing censorship happen at a level which I've never seen before. All of independent media is being hit. I did a recent segment in which, again, Misty Winston, who did an interview with Jimmy Dore, and Kim Iverson as well, who did an interview with RFK Jr., their videos were taken down. Their videos were taken down by YouTube. Now, Hard Lens Media, especially from as soon as Biden got elected into office up until now, during this time, we've been hit not once, but 8 times by the YouTube censorship. Now, thankfully, because of all of you, we're still here and our allies in independent media. But it's getting worse. We're seeing journalists being detained. We're seeing whistleblowers being detained. We're seeing the same people who caused the 2008 collapse once again dancing and planning and foaming at the mouth for another economic collapse in which, once again, we get bled dry. Where is our democracy? Where are our senators? Where are our House representatives that are supposed to protect us? Oh, wait, I know where they're at. And so do you. They're in on the game too.
What does it look like? Define that for me, if you would. What does it mean to have a democracy? My understanding was that representative democracy is a system in which the population gets to govern their own country through their representatives. You're describing a completely different system where they are disenfranchised and disempowered and then controlled by people who've never been elected by anybody. So that is, whatever you call that, that is the opposite of democracy. That is not democracy. So how dare you? May those words burn on your lips next time you lecture me about democracy.
Democracy. Democracy. The greatest form of government that screws over the people, especially when it's controlled by the psychopaths in Washington, D.C. Now, again, those interviews did take place when Tucker Carlson went on to Tulsi Gabbard's show. All right. So this isn't anything recent, but I want to play this because, again, how often would you see anyone from BSDNC or CNN Plus? I mean, oops, MSNBC and CNN. Would any of their hosts, their pundits, talk about that? No, they would if they were talking about also Donald Trump, because they have to have that Saturday morning cartoon villain in their monologues. They can't really think freely for themselves. They're incapable of really making the big decisions or the ability of actually speaking out. Now, look, again, Carlson's going to be fine. He's going to land on his feet. But they're doing everything they can to make sure that he doesn't speak out, because 2024 is going to be a very funny and interesting election year. It's really a sign of just how crazy things are getting, because, again, let's look at this election year, and we're going to be talking more about this later on the show. The Democrats are not going to have debates. Hell, the Republican Party pretty much is following that line too. We're seeing the fact that corporate media is doing everything they can to prop up Joe Biden. But how often will he be speaking to crowds of people? How often will we see Joe Biden on the road? I mean, both Biden and Kamala's polling numbers are abysmal. And they're supposedly the people who returned the soul back to America's, to the American people, the soul back to the country. We need people to call it out. And the thing is, Tucker Carlson, along with his audience, it's a pretty powerful force. There's no denying it. You may not like what Tucker Carlson says, but he drew in the viewers. He has the audience. And for the most part, let's face it, Fox News shot itself in the foot when they got rid of him. And I remember talking about this on Larry Sharp's show, and we kind of had a little bit of a back and forth on whether Fox News would recover or not, because to be fair, Fox News fired Bill O'Reilly, who was at the one time the most popular host. Then they fired Glenn Beck, who was at one time a very popular #1 host, and Fox News was able to recover. But what I wanted to bring up, though, the difference between Bill O'Reilly and Glenn compared to Tucker Carlson when they were on Fox, is that Tucker drew in more people and had a wide range of guests and people of different perspectives, and he let his guests talk. He let his guests really speak to his audience. And let's face it, when it comes down to policy here in this country, especially when it comes down to Medicare for all or student debt forgiveness or other progressive issues, or the fact that we lack election integrity, Americans, not voters, a part of any party, Americans as a whole agree on the issues. We all agree on the issues. We know that there's something wrong in this country. We know we're being screwed over. We know we're the richest country in the world, and yet every single American is so close to facing absolute poverty. One bad day, we can lose it all. One bad day, it's all over. Tucker Carlson was able to do that. So it's interesting to see them, how they're trying to silence him. And then when it also looks at, when it comes time to talk about somebody like Donald Trump, we've all seen the insider text messages of what Tucker Carlson really thinks of Trump. But I want to bring this segment up when he was on Tulsi Gabbard's show as well.
I wasn't against the system at all. Really what changed me was watching Trump in 2015. And I knew Trump before, I mean, because I'm in the media, so I'd known Trump, not well, but I'd known him for, 15 years before, right? A long time. And I was like, I thought he was kind of a buffoon. I still think that sometimes. But what changed my view wasn't Trump. It was the reaction to Trump among my neighbors. So Trump would say something in his like florid orange way, you know, like, why are we funding NATO? And that was the one that got me. I remember this. And I never questioned NATO. Because I grew up during the Cold War, and NATO was the bulwark against Soviet aggression into Western Europe. And like my dad worked, as I said, worked for the government. So like we were totally for NATO. Why wouldn't you be? But that ended in August of 1991. I was on my honeymoon when the Soviet Union collapsed, but we still had NATO in 2015. Like, what was the point? And I'd never thought about it in my life. And Trump's like, why are we funding NATO? And I thought that was.
And hey, folks, what could possibly go wrong by keeping an institution that was around during the Cold War? What could possibly go wrong? It's not like it would ever be used for an idea to cause further escalation with the remaining countries that made up the former Soviet Union. It's not like there would be, I don't know, unchecked aggression. It's not like there would be any kind of corruption or abuse of power. I mean, let's be clear here. What could possibly go wrong? I can't see anything. What could go wrong? It's not like there would be a conflict in which, you know, would lead two global superpowers so close to launching that shiny red button with all the nukes. I mean, what could go wrong?
That was a really interesting question. Okay, well, I don't know why. What's the answer? And my neighbors are like, shut up! He must be killed! It's like, okay, but maybe shut up, maybe he must be killed. But what's the answer to like, why are we funding NATO? Is there a good reason? Shut up! Yeah. They were so hysterical about obvious and basically common sense questions about the way things were working that was a tell to me. I was stunned by it, actually. I was like, reasonable people who are acting out of honorable motives should be happy or at least willing to explain themselves. Like, what? Hey, Tulsi, why are you doing that? If you're like, shut up, then that tells me like you're doing something wrong. If you're like, well, here's why I'm doing it. You may disagree, but here's why. They couldn't do that on any topic. Immigration policy. I've never been like, my best friend's an immigrant. I've never been against like immigrants.
Tucker, come on, buddy. Don't ever go down that road. Some of my best friends are immigrants. Come on, Tucker. Come on, Tucker. Don't you be saying that. Some of my best friends are immigrants. Go on, Tucker. We've all seen the videos, buddy. Come on.
Or anything, but I was like, you should have control of your border. And Trump, in his Trumpian way, was basically arguing for that. They just couldn't deal. They couldn't deal with any questions about the way things were then operating. And when I saw that just completely exploded my view of the system. I was like, this system is a lot more fragile than I realized. It's a lot less legitimate than I realized. And then just the whole 4 years of Trump, and like he'd say something that was like truly insane, like the intel agencies are spying on me, and you're like, oh, okay. The intel agencies are not spying on, like, what, you know what I mean? Right. What do you like?
Well, yeah, but see, here's the thing. Before Trump said that, we had somebody else say, hey, the intel agencies are spying in on you. His name was Edward, a guy somewhere snowed in. There you go. That's the person who warned us. And the thing is, the media did everything to dismiss it. So, folks, just to let you know, I know right now, the Biden-Harris administration are trying to get rid of TikTok, but also hire TikTok influencers. But there's all this fear that TikTok's taking your data. Just to let you know, Facebook, YouTube, Google, Instagram, Snapchat. Yes, Snapchat. I actually got in an argument with somebody some time ago when I said, hey, you do realize that everything that you do put on Snapchat, it is archived. And they're like, no, it gets deleted. No, it's archived. It's archived. All your information, all your metadata is being spied in on you, and you're being watched. I like to say hi to my two FBI surveillance agents. Hi, Billy. Hi, Thomas. How you guys doing?
There's a moon landing fake too,
right?
And then you'd find out, like a year later, actually the intel agencies were spying on him, and then everyone would be like, "Well, they had to." Wait, and you'd be like, "Wait, what?" First of all, he was right. Second, I don't care whether it's Trump. I don't care who the president is. You can't spy on the president because he works for you. That's an attack on our system. No, it's totally fine. I would see stuff like that, and I was just like, you know what? I'm out.
So there you go. That's one of the reasons why I want to keep him quiet. But there's a bigger picture here, and that is the censorship on YouTube. The YouTube censorship and the social media censorship that we're seeing towards independent media is intensifying. Earlier in this segment, I talked about what happened to Missy Winston's interview with Jimmy Dore, as well as Kim Iverson's interview that she did with RFK Jr. Both those videos were taken down. And because of that, and again, that interview segment was posted, especially with Missy Winston and Jimmy Dore, was posted on Get Indie News. And for 2 weeks now, YouTube has not allowed Indie Left, Get Indie News, to be posting anything up. That's not good. That impacts a lot of content creators. And the thing is, we hear at Hard Lens Media from as soon as the Biden-Harris administration got started up until now, not one time, but 8 times we were hit with the censorship. So I truly do hope that Tucker Carlson is able to win against his situation with Fox News. They're trying to keep his voice quiet. And the thing is, if they're able to really silence his voice or keep him quiet up until January of 2025, just imagine what else the establishment will do to keep people quiet. And I know we here at Hard Lens Media have a wide range of audience members here. Hell, there are sometimes I say things where you guys don't agree with what I say. That's fine. That is your fundamental right as a person, as a free thinker, as a sovereign individual. But we need to really protect free speech in this country, because if it's gone, no one's going to speak. So I encourage everyone across the political spectrum to really think about this. If we remain silent towards what the establishment is doing, if we just turn a blind eye to every time YouTube is going to start demonetizing independent journalists, content creators who are doing the job that corporate media will never do, it is the end. We cannot afford it. And I am truly concerned of how this election cycle will play out, because something ain't right. We know it's not right. Just how it's being controlled, how it's being presented. And corporate media is expecting you, and you alone, to be silent, obedient, and give your consent to what is being presented to you. Is this the truth that you want? Is this the world that you want to live in? A type 1, if you think, yeah, kid, it's perfectly fine. 1984, Brave New World, Fahrenheit 451. Hell, give me the Imperial Inquisition. It is fine by me. Everything's okay. A type 2 is like, no, I don't want this. I don't want this at all.